What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about what's going on in the pre-markets for SPY, Tesla, the QQQ, and a couple of tickers out there. I'm going to break down some important levels to watch for, what's going on with the news that just came out, and how all of this may affect the markets. I'm also going to break down when a very big move is going to come to the markets because we have some big data dropping. And I'm going to break down how this all could be affecting how the market moves for the later days of the week too. Now, before I begin down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things real quick. Firstly, I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. Put in $100 and you're guaranteed 5 free stocks plus a $100 cash reward. The offer ends in just a couple of weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, so the market is once again holding up. We are green once again on SPY, at least the openness for the time being. And the real question is, will we continue to pump? Well, it's going to depend on some very important factors. Many big catalysts are coming out for the week, but for the day specifically, there's going to be a big piece of data very soon. Now, the market right now is once again anticipating that the Fed is going to pause, or at least they believe it's very likely. When I say pause, I mean, am I counting for a skip? The answer is we don't know if they skip until the July period. So for now, it's going to be interpreted as a pause if they do end up doing that. But if they are open to more rate hikes, we won't know for sure if they do it again until the July meeting. But for the time being, if there is some kind of pause or skip, the market will be very excited about that, in my opinion. Now, I also want to add that the market's expecting the Fed to give us a pause or at the very least not raise rates during this meeting. Now it appears that there's a 74.8% chance in the eyes of the market. And there's about a 25.2% chance that they continue to raise. Now, we have to add on the fact that inflation is going to be a very, very big factor. We have CPI coming out for next week, so it's very important to note that. But today, specifically, we have the Consumer Inflationary Expectations report coming out. The forecast is 4.2%. If this is hot, if we are expecting a big surge in inflation and it's like 4.4%, 4.6%, the market may see a negative reaction. So you have to be ready. It's coming out at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. Be ready for the very big move. That's about, at the time I'm recording this, like 2.5 hours from now. That's 1.5 hours after market open. And then let me also add that if this is low and we're expecting inflation not surge that much, this could help the market as well. So you got to watch this data very carefully. It's very, very important. And to add to this, the news is reporting that the stock is basically gaining a lot of hope that the Fed will pause during this week. And if the Fed does not give us, a skip or a pause during the June meeting, the market is not going to like it. So you have to be prepared for this. This is part of why the market's holding up so nicely. So we have to be ready. It could mean that someone knows something. That could be the reason why, or it could mean something completely different. So we'll have to wait and see. One thing I want to note that as of right now, SPY did technically gap up, or it's very close to gapping up. There's this nice gap very, very close to this 430 area, and we're currently sitting at about 431.19. So as we could be seeing a gap up, what typically happens is if we get a rejection and we break below the low. So if we see SPY break below like this 430.68 level, it could come down to fill this gap, could drop right and get a retest to about the 429.9 to 430 area. For now, it's holding up, and if it continues to break out, you're going to be watching this resistance. 432 or very close to 432. That's the current resistance zone we have to be watching. Specifically, it's going to be, we have a lot of resistance in the 431s specifically. 431.22, 431.76, and 432 flats are going to be some tight resistance levels. Break 432, and this thing's going to fly to the 433 resistance. Break above that, and this thing will fly to 435. Those are resistance zones to look out for. If we end up coming down, we have some support down here where the gap is around the 430 area. If that fails on us, then we have 429 flat. After that comes the 50 EMA at 4. It's also at 429, 428.5, 427.5, and etc. Right, 426. If it breaks 426, that's going to cause a much bigger move to the downside. We're just nowhere near that for now. And for now, the technicals are looking kind of bullish. We're still holding up nicely. If you look at the pre-market, we're continuing to hold up. We're continuing to pump. But we are going to gap up, so be very careful with this gap right here, right? We could come down to fill this gap. I don't know if the data is going to cause that or not, but just watch these levels very carefully. We are in the chop zone for now, so watch and see if SPY can break 432. Now, as for Tesla's going to be another big one. Tesla is once again pumping in the pre-market. It's currently at about 247.85, and it tested 250 not too long ago. Now, why is this important? Tesla unveiled a new Gigafactory laboratory concept, and for now, we're getting some positive reactions to it. Now, for Tesla to break out, it has to test this resistance zone right here and break above it. And this resistance zone is going to be very close to this 250 range. If it manages to break in a whole 250 in a strong manner, right? Not just like a temporary break above it before coming back down after like a few hours, nothing like that. We need to hold 250 and above, then this thing will have the potential to push up a lot higher. But if Tesla continues to break down, we have two gaps now. There's one in the pre-market that formed, which could bring it down to like this 244 level. And if that fails, watch the low of the day that we made on excuse me, Friday. On Friday, okay, if we see Tesla break that low and come all the way down to 241 or below 240, it's going to come all the way down to fill the gap at 235. Don't forget that the 1 hour 250 EMA is at about 238. So watch these levels carefully. All right. So if you're bullish on Tesla, you're going to be watching this thing break above 250. For now, it's holding up, but there's no sign of it breaking out. So you have to be careful there. And if you're bearish, you're going to be watching some support at these levels. There's also 245.95. 244.5, 242, and then once again the low of the day on Friday, which is around 241.5. Break all of those, and it's going to come down to fill the gap all the way down in the 235 area. So we're going to be watching all of those very carefully. But for now, let's see if Tesla could try to hold these levels. It's still holding up nicely, but once again, be very careful with it because it was making its way to fill the gap before, and it hasn't been able to break 250 for confirmation of the bigger move. So once again, I'm going to remain patient. I didn't see any news about NEO, but it's actually up pretty big in the pre-market. It's up about 4%, holding up nicely above $8. We'll see if this lasts. Looking at the QQQ, the triple Q is gapping up again, up 0.5%, getting very close to where our resistance zone is. It's currently fighting just above support at 356. If it's bullish now, if it holds 356, it could get a test of 357.5. But it is gapping up in the pre-market. And typically when that happens, if we see a reversal, if it breaks below 355.5, it is most likely going to fill the pre-market gap at 354.5. And if that fails us, it could drop even lower, all the way down to where this gap level is. And even below that, we could see it retest of 50 at 353.87. So you're going to be watching to see, does it break down and start filling the gap, or does it continue to push up to break this resistance? Right now, it's very flat, right? It's just going back and forth and back and forth. There's not really a true sign from a technical standpoint. It is favoring bulls just a tiny bit, but once again, the reason why I'm breaking down both sides is because you have to remember at 11 o'clock a.m. the data is coming in. I don't know what the data is going to cause. So that's why I'm open-minded. What else is there? We have, let's see, the NASDAQ currently flat. It's not really doing a whole lot. It was about to get a bearish cross on the PPO to cool off just a tiny bit. That's also very possible, but not a guarantee. We'll just have to wait on the data. The dollar is pretty flat. Aapl is up pretty nicely too. It's above 181, testing resistance around 181.75. And if that breaks, we have 182.25 and 182.5. For now, Apple's holding up. We're about to get a bullish cross on the 1 hourly. This could help the market just a little bit, but Apple's going to be testing resistance very close to 182. So watch this carefully. If Apple rejects off there, we have this gap below all the way down to 180.8. If Apple breaks below the 181 support, it's going to come all the way down to fill that gap. Then maybe test the 50 at 180.41. If Apple wants to break out, we have to try to break 182.5. If it breaks that, it could make its way closer to 185. But we have to watch. For now, it's still very flat. Amazon is green. Nvidia, let's see Nvidia. It's up pretty nicely. It's just a couple of dollars to the upside, testing this resistance around the 391 range. It keeps breaking out, right? If we get a very positive reaction when the data comes out, watch 395, then potentially 400 plus and 405 as resistances. If it comes down, watch the 50 EMA as support at 385, 387 to 385, the entire zone right there. And if that breaks down, then we have it getting closer to where 380 was, then 377, then 375. For now, it's in the middle, still holding above the 50, so there's no true sign of confirmation of weakness yet. If it breaks below the 50 EMA, it's going to come most likely down to a much lower level. There's a possible head and shoulders, so be careful with Nvidia. But at the same time, there's no confirmation of it breaking the 50. If it breaks below the 50, this 387 support is going to come down a lot lower. If it manages to hold above this, it has potential to try to make its way up closer to 400. So you're going to be watching that very carefully. Other than that, guys, thank you all so much for listening. This is your pre-market update. Get ready for a big move at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. The consumer inflationary expectations report is coming out. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in a later video. Thank you. Market to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.